Okay, take number 2 for this video. I'm at a dead end at a far corner of the trail, and there's still a lot of people coming and going. I'll be glad when winter gets here. Anyway, making kind of a progress report. A while back, probably about a month or so into the pandemic and the shutdown and everything that went on, my therapist noticed that I was stressed out about it like everyone, but she knows that I was handling it pretty well, all things considered, with job loss, with my job closing, like millions of people's did. My job closing and just isolation and the uncertainty, everything else. She asked me what I was doing, what tools I was using, or what I was doing to help me deal with everything. And I told her, well, I kind of look for the silver lining. Look for the silver linings in all this, and draw on my inner resources. Number one, spending a lot more time with Zeus, my amazing dog. The white giant that many of you have seen in my pictures and videos. And he helps me immeasurably. He's officially my emotional support dog, and that's exactly what he does for me. Couldn't do it without him. Another thing I do, I still run every single day. Today made 7,768 days in a row. Still running with my flag here. So that gives me that mental boost. It's a symbol of hope and persistence. Hope and persistence and defiance as well. And also I find over the years that I've been running with it that it uplifts a lot of people and inspires a lot of people. Excuse me. That, the occasional times when I don't run with it, so many times, if I'm running in one of my areas that I regularly run in, like over by White Rock Lake or something, there's people that will say, hey, where's your flag at? We love seeing you run with your flag, So still doing that. October 7th, I passed 17 months of sobriety. I mentioned in another video, I really never really imagined being sober, because I liked my drinking, and I could still have fun without it, of course, but I loved going out and having my drinks, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, smoking some pot as well, but dropped all that as of May 7th, 2009. Well, I stopped smoking pot about 5 or 6 years ago at least, 5 or 6 years, but getting sober and staying sober is a big thing. I really just don't even have any desire to drink anymore. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be as far as the drinking itself. Now, the social isolation is a different story, but also along the way, now of course I've talked to my therapist a lot about the Boston bombings and about Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, and she had brought up forgiveness, and that's a good thing. Holding a grudge is always negative, even when it's justified, and forgiveness is a good thing, but as I've said, it has to be sincere, it has to be genuine. And I never thought, now I finally reached the point this year through therapy, I finally reached the point of, I guess you'd call it acceptance, and dropping the grudge, the active hatred of him And this was about the time, a couple months ago, can't believe it's been a couple months, that appeals court overturned Zokar's death penalty conviction, and now he's staying in prison, but the Department of Justice has decided to retry him to reimpose the death penalty, which I'm completely opposed to now. And just talking about that, while I was talking about it in another video, I realized two things. Number one, that I've forgiven him. I never thought I would reach the point or say the words that I've forgiven Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. That's a real mind blower to me, almost a minor miracle. While I was making that video, about 4 minutes into it, now I was outdoors like this one, I was walking along the street, and there were a bunch of ambulance and police sirens going past a block or two away, making a lot of noise a few minutes into the video. And it was a little distracting. It distracted me for just a moment, but what I noticed was it didn't disturb me or trigger me like it has before. Now, PTSD, I love to call the gift that keeps on giving, because I don't know that people actually get cured of it. It's kind of like depression. I don't know if people get cured of it, but you can make improvements and get better at coping with it, dealing with it. And so what I noticed with all that is that I'm a lot better, number one, avoiding triggers, and number two, maybe more importantly, handling those triggers when they arrive, like a bunch of sirens going right past me, especially if they're real close. Different stressful situations like that, I've just gotten better at coping with them. And same goes for panic attacks. I have fewer panic attacks. I do still have them sometimes. Sometimes they come randomly. I don't know. I think just the stress of the economic shutdown and the pandemic, the uncertainty, sometimes that triggers. But I've gotten better at seeing one coming, and then if I do have one, I've gotten better at dealing with it, using tools I've learned along the way to cope with it, kind of refocusing myself, recentering myself, just taking some deep breaths and relaxing myself and kind of putting my mind in another place. It's actually, I liken it to when I'm racing a marathon, and if I'm really racing hard and concentrating, the way you deal with the pain is you kind of put your mind in another place. Now you acknowledge the pain and you do focus on it a little bit, but at the same time you kind of put your mind somewhere else. Let yourself think of music or butterflies or whatever floats your boat. And, or in my case, a lot of times I'll think of my dog, Zeus, the pretty girl before that. I'll think of my dog waiting for me at home. You kind of focus your energy, focus your mental energy somewhere else. It's kind of hard to explain precisely, but so that's what I'm doing looking forward. Still some stressful times ahead, no doubt. We're still in the middle of all this economic mess. It looks like things are going to get worse for a while because Congress is going to do nothing to help working people and businesses. But we'll figure it out. I've survived. That's another thing I do. I've survived a lot of crazy things over the last several years. survived a lot of extremes, and here I am. I got a roof over my head, got enough money to go buy groceries in a few minutes here, still walking a tightrope, and it's stressful. And here comes a cyclist. Still walking a tightrope, and it's stressful, but I just have a feeling inside that I'll figure out how to make it work, that it's all going to work out somehow or other in the end. And meanwhile, what I do is I keep just looking for silver linings in all this, and try to focus on what I've accomplished. Like I said, with sobriety, which is huge, keeping my running going every day, spending a lot of time with Zeus, realizing that I've forgiven Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. I've learned a lot and made tremendous progress regarding my PTSD and panic attacks, and focus on all that rather than the negatives of what I don't have. And right now, like a lot of people, I don't have an income really other than unemployment. But I can't spend, all I can do is each day focus on what's ahead of me that day, and again remind myself of all the things that I have done. And that's about it. So give yourself a pat on the back. Seek out those life force enhancers. Avoid the life force zappers. People, places, things, jobs, anything that's a life force zapper that just is sucking your soul dry. Avoid, and seek out life force enhancers. Positive people, jobs that treat you well, and where you have great co-workers, great managers, etc. Seek out the life force enhancers. All right, everyone, remember, we are luminous beings. Y'all have a great night. Take care. Oh yeah, and Boston Strong. Boston Strong.